Hello, I'm Jim Schaefer, the producer and host of Rip Rap, the academic book television program. I have several guests today to discuss the launching of the Ann Arbor Book Festival this year. My first guest is Carl Port, who's here to discuss the launching of the festival and his role in it as owner of the Shaman Drum Bookstore. I also have Julia Dickinson, who was the director of the festival, and then later we'll be talking with Evans Young, the Assistant Dean of the LS&A College at the University of Michigan. Welcome to Rip Rap, Carl. It's so wonderful to have you on this program. I mean, that's just a personal thing for me, because when we first were talking about starting the program, you and I had many, many discussions about that. And fortunately, you didn't tell me until later that you really wondered if we ever get it off the ground. But we did that. And then you've had this role of starting things off with book projects, and one of them, of course, was the Ann Arbor Book Festival this year. And what was your thinking? How did this get going? How did this all come together? Because we had talked like 5 years ago about doing it. But
right.
What came together this year?
Well, you know, I think that this is, especially with the success of Ann Arbor Reads, I thought that we could build on that and finally do a book fair. This is, as everyone knows, this is Ann Arbor is the home of one of the top 10 public universities in the United States, if not the world. It's a community that is committed to, I think, books and the written word. And so it's time that they're doing book fairs around the country. And I thought that Ann Arbor, in terms of the Midwest, that we're the perfect community to have this book fair in.
Yeah, we've been doing the art fairs.
Right,
It's
exactly.
logical that
No, that's
with
right.
all these bookstores.
Yeah,
That
and you can also build on the art fair, because you start talking about an art fair or book fair, and everybody knows what you're talking about already. So it's not as if you're inventing this, you know, out of the air.
And this, the way you did it, I mean, I know you work both as community, but it showed real leadership, because you had the coordinator or director here, Julia, and we're going to talk with her later in the program too. But also there was that community aspect. There were all these people. There were Borders and little professor bookstores and all these people that made it so wonderful.
Right. Also the public library. They were real central players in this. And I think that Ann Arbor is a community where you're in the university, and you can't, it's very, process is very important. You know, we originally thought about possibly seeing this as a State Street event. But that's, very quickly we realized that, you know, in terms of mobilizing the entire community, that we wanted to not have any sort of single ownership, but we wanted to have it the sense of everybody owning into this, or having the possibility of owning into this.
When you had Washington literacy involved,
that's
and
right.
Literacy was a very central part of it.
That's right.
I vow to be free from any shame. I am a Filipino, with a shadow certain and clear.
Julia, it may seem obvious to you, but we should still ask this question. What's the reason for holding a festival like this?
Our mission is to promote reading, writing, and literacy, and so there are so many different perfect reasons to have a book festival in Ann Arbor, Michigan. One of the things is just the number of bookstores. We're in Shaman Drum right now, and this is where the idea generated from, but there are 30 independent bookstores in Ann Arbor. This is the headquarters of Borders. This is where Borders began. We have the highest concentration of book printers in the country. I mean, it's just amazing, just literary hotspot. The other part that we were going for with the creation of this Ann Arbor Book Festival is to promote literacy and increase literacy. There is a 23% rate of very low literacy rate for adults in Michigan. And that's sort of shocking. It's at a level 1 or 2, which is they can pick out one piece of information within a text, or read one street sign but not two. And so just finding out where you are. So really highlighting that need and trying to get people pulled into making a difference in our community and around us. There's Ann Arbor, which is a really highly educated community, even has 12% still of people, adults who struggle with literacy. issues, and that was something that we really wanted to highlight as well. Plus, I think that Michigan doesn't get quite enough credit, and I know it with your program Rip Rap, you know this inside and out, doesn't get quite enough credit for being a literary hotspot. I mean, there are so many authors who have come through Michigan and who live in Michigan. And I mean, that was one of the challenges in putting on the Ann Arbor Book Festival, is going through and selecting them. I mean, ultimately for our 2004, we had over 130 authors involved at some level, whether it's signing or panel discussions or what have you. And I mean, that was with hundreds more that came towards us and said, we want to be a part of this thing. And it's an amazing, I mean, like Ernest Hemingway came from here, and there's just so many famous authors that are a part of Michigan and have that as a piece of what they carry and what they write. And I'd like to have the book festival really highlight that piece of Michigan.
It's so wonderful to have you on our television program. You had a significant role in launching the first year as a representative of the University of Michigan. Perhaps you let our viewers know why the university feels an event like this is so important and worthy of its support.
Well, Jim, I'm the president of the board of directors for the Ann Arbor Book Festival, and I'm actually not representing the university per se in any kind of formal role. But we have quite a few University of Michigan people on the board. We're all there as volunteers, I think, because we're interested in books and what they mean for the community.
For me, personally, it was one of my the best parts of doing the book festival, is just engaging with all these incredibly intelligent, incredibly active, incredibly caring people. What I mentioned, the book printers, and the fact that there are so many in this community, and they came and stepped up behind this. Malloy, for example, printed this book called Ann Arborites, and what this was a combination of just all these different community partners that were part of the book festival working together. The Ann Arbor District Library took the charge with pulling together the different authors. There's Lucy Liu has a photo essay in here with the Charlie's Angels. Her most recent movie is something else. Charles Baxter, Joan Blow, Newbery Award winning, just amazing number of authors and famous folks from Ann Arbor writing about their memories and thoughts of Ann Arbor. The Ann Arbor District Library organized this, and then Malloy donated the printing for it. And so all the sales have been a fundraiser for the book festival.
And you had an event, didn't you, going out?
That was, Friday night we had a tour of Malloy so people could see the process of a book going from just the computer form to what you see up here. And it's the most, I was blown away by it. I've been around books for a while. I've been to printing, but just hadn't really, just to see the massive presses and the process of taking that book from the computer screen to the shelf is just amazing.
And from what I remember, you got more people going to that than what you first thought might do that.
We were hoping at the very top end to have 100, and we had a number of books, and then a number of the contributors to Ann Arborites there to sign the books. And we had up to close to 200 people. We had a couple of last tours were a bit bigger than we wanted, but it was amazing. And there was more people so we are going to do a tour like that, maybe a different book printer next year, but we will do another tour like that, because there were a number of people who heard about it afterwards and were like, oh, I wanted to see that. So it was for me, that was a really fun one, because I got to be a participant.
I see.
And see that.
The kind of effort, the enthusiasm that all these volunteers put into it, I was really, truly impressed with. I've lived in Ann Arbor since 1976, and it was only until this past year that I decided I'm really from Ann Arbor. Just to see everybody put out that kind of effort to make a great event happen. The kinds of things that really got me excited, when I saw the baby carriages and families there,
right.
For me that was a success. When I saw Cat in the Hat and Wild Thing, that was pretty good too. In addition, we had the scholars for a Brown v. Board of Education. It was the 50th anniversary
right.
Of that Supreme Court decision on desegregating public schools. So we had a panel on that. That was really great. Everybody's favorite, I think, was the book that changed my life. where Mary Sue Coleman was there, Lloyd Carr was there,
Right.
Josie Parker from the library was there, Charlie Baxter was there, Thaddeus Moss was there, I think. So those kinds of things just made it really a great deal of fun. There was a mind, body, and spirit pavilion, so that brought me back to the 60s a little bit. There was a comic book, I would call it, but a what do they call them? Graphic novel
Right.
exhibit booth as well. The University of Michigan Press was there and had a glorious time. You know, university presses are by and large in trouble these days, but they were happy to be there, and they were selling quite a few of the U of M Press books too.
Yeah, we dropped by there. They were quite busy.
Yeah, they're really pleased.
And that's
They'll
so
be
much
back
fun
again.
to have
Yeah.
that actually out in the public
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
That's,
Now that was just on the site itself. Now, you know, we also had a book tour of Malloy Printing to see how this book was made,
Right.
and there was a reception for some of the authors at that time too. I went to a technical high school myself, so seeing anything with big machines is always a thrill for me. There was also a training for people who are interested in teaching literacy, and a literacy resource guidebook was produced as a result. So there's a lot of products from this, and we're really looking forward to doing it again.
Well, and the other thing that, again, with people we talked to during the street fair and during the festival, they all want to have it happen again. I mean, there was a really pleasant, you know, legacy that came out of that. And of course, we know now that that's going to happen, and that's another tribute to the leadership of you and the people with your board that will set it up, that they're going to undertake this again.
Well, we're very lucky to have you know, a very talented group of people, and I don't feel as if I've been as central to this as you know, I had the wisdom to hire Julia Dickinson as the executive director, and I thought that she was terrific. And then a number of people just came forward and working with her good energy, you know, made this happen. And it was always our feeling that we wanted to make this sustainable. And I think that we're, you know, a couple of years away from the 50th anniversary of the Ann Arbor Street Art Fair. And you know, the model was always that we'd like to keep this going, that this was the first of what we hope are many book fairs in the future.
We have our dates. It's May 20th through the 22nd of 2005, so we're already getting the committees together, already planning, already determining stages and pursuing some big name authors. And
But I guess you're kind of handing it over to a new person
that's true, that's true.
because you're moving.
Yeah.
But that's.
But I will always stay involved, and I will be part of this.
It was a very heartfelt thing. I remember talking to you while it was going on, and there was that whoa, you know, because it started taking off. That's what's marvelous, is when something's going to be a success, it takes off and it starts causing size issues that hadn't been anticipated.
That was, it was sort of more ideas came in, and it was just, there were certain things that came up towards the end that was like, oh, I would love to do that. That's such a, and at some point you have to sort of, okay, right now we have 10 stages, we have 130 authors, we have to stop there and then leave some stuff for next year, sort of thing.
I thought you were going to fool me with that pH stuff, didn't you? What's rule number one? Is that your mom there? What's rule number one, Anna Sophia? Breathe. What's rule number two? Yes, Anna Sophia, you are so smart. Maybe you should listen to yourself.
Well, and the book festival is so exciting because all the different kinds of participants, and of course academic authors who are essential to the purpose of a world-class research institution at the university. Perhaps you'd like to comment on the way these scholars participate in the kinds of events and activities that they were in.
Well, there certainly were a lot of academics there. The stuff that I really enjoyed too was just the excitement around books and everybody getting interested in the ways that people enter into the lives and minds of others through books, the way that people give other people, including their children, a great read. So the academics were certainly there. The University of Michigan world-class researchers were certainly there. We kicked it off with an evening of Michigan authors, which included several scholars locally. Included the the cook from Common Grill in Chelsea as well. But it also included a colleague of mine from the Center for Afro-American and African Studies, Melba Joyce Boyd, who wrote about the Broadside Press in Detroit. It also included Liz Goodenough, who was writing about secret spaces of childhood, and as well as the poet from University of Michigan, Thylias Moss, who talked about her book, Slave Moth.
We had over 100 volunteers involved with organizing the event and helping pull it off. It was just an amazing collaboration of anybody related to reading, writing, and literacy in this region. And we had a kickoff on Thursday night, which was Michigan is reflected through the written word, and we had 8 different authors from different genres: children's, nonfiction, fiction, poetry, talking about how Michigan has influence and is reflected through their work. And that was a really fun, I think one of the things we talked about the different authors involved, to watch them interact with each other was so much. They had the best time, like hearing that and then playing off, and there were all these amazing word people. So it was just interesting to see how being in Michigan was reflected through their work, or how they took that question and talked about it. Then on Friday we had a literacy symposium that was for parents and educators, and it was a full-day symposium. One of the interesting pieces there is all the community connections. Washington Literacy, which is an adult literacy program. The University of Michigan has a number of phenomenal programs, and the Washington Intermediate School District all got together to organize this. And the funny thing is, the Washington Intermediate School District used to bring in experts from all around the country for different things. And there are some amazing, the University Center for Language and Literacy, for example, or just some amazing different programs here at the University of Michigan. So now they're planning on bringing these folks back instead of flying folks from all around the country and things like that. So we had a whole day literacy symposium with continuing education credits for the teachers. And then you mentioned Friday night was the press tour, and Saturday is Street Festival. And I do go on. It was so much fun.
No, that's all right. It was fun.
The Street Festival, we focused on all things reading, writing, and literacy, from a spotlight on songwriting to the poetry slams, which you mentioned, spelling bees. We had panel discussions. We had
puppet theater.
Exactly. Yeah. We had a hands-on craft area where the kids got to make books or calligraphy and get their name in different languages, in Arabic and Hebrew, and with the International Institute here at the University of Michigan. And boy, there's just so many different things.
I'm in there under J.
We're proud of the fact we were one of the community partners.
Yes, and we are very grateful for that too, Jim. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for what you've done.
Yeah.
One of the things that everyone I've talked to about the festival had special memories, and I wondered if you had some that, as this whole thing unfolded, you had. There were special events like the book publishing event, and there were a printing event, and there were lectures, and there were dinners. What were some of the memories that you have?
Well, I think from behind the scenes that I have a strong memory of intense anxiety, and that has to do with the weather, and the luck of the draw. On both Friday and Saturday, the weather was terrific, and then on Sunday, I think it sleeted and there was it slightly snowed. And if that had happened on Saturday, of course, it would have been disastrous.
Yeah.
But I was, enormously pleased on Saturday to see the crowds of people out. Also to see families with small children, which are, a demographic that you don't see much in this neighborhood. Mostly students and professors and students. So it was really a thrill to see the kids out. I thought that was terrific.
And there were a lot of people. I mean, for a first-year event, and there was kids in the strollers. We've got older people. We've got people of all kinds of backgrounds.
Right.
So it really was diversity in its very best. And you had all the booths going on. You had the puppet theater, and
right.
Julie did a wonderful job. So, and that young and old kind of thing. academic and non-academic. They all
That's
blended
right.
together. But there was I thought, a real interaction between the authors. I saw a lot of authors just thoroughly enjoying themselves and autographing books and talking and joking with people and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it was very busy. I talked afterwards to folks from the University of Michigan Press, and they were enormously pleased at the sales they had. So this was not just a crowd that was looking; they were also purchasing books, and that's always a help for the people exhibiting.
For me, it was really amazing to see. We had spent a year planning all these different activities, and it's nerve-wracking. Are people going to come? Is the weather going to be good? And to see just the number and variety of people who came out and sitting for example, in the children's pavilion where they had the puppet shows or the music things, and they were just all just staring and totally a part of it. It was
not a vacant seat in the lot.
no. I think we need to make it bigger next year.
I think so.
That's
but isn't that's always a part of it when you start thinking, well, how many spaces, how much, how many things, how much supplies do you need, and all that stuff.
Right, absolutely. There was, you mentioned surprises. There weren't as many as you would think being a first-year event, and you mentioned the art fairs, and having had a regular Ann Arbor art fair here, the city knows how to deal with it, the community knows a lot of different things, and Sherry Brown, who's the director of the original Ann Arbor Street Art Fair, was a huge consultant for me. She sat with me and walked me through the streets and said, okay, you need to think about trash, you need to think about and helped on the Friday before the event set up the street festival. So for me, that was just to have somebody who has 17 years of experience putting much bigger, they had 4 blocks, we had 2. No, they had more than that, but she kept saying, oh, this is going smoothly, and so as long as she thought it was smooth.
I think it's important to give everyone connected with the festival, including those from the University of Michigan and the festival board, who really worked a lot of hours and put in a lot of time. A big thank you for starting this up.
Well, it's really been terrific, and the kind of support we've gotten from all quarters of the community, business, academics, children, has just been tremendous.
Before we end the program, we should really talk about some of the people that were on the board of the festival. I think Evans Young was...
Evans Young, who's the assistant dean of the College of LS&A, is our chair of the board, and he just an amazing person that I aspire to be similar to someday, just as far as pulling in the resources, as far as helping. You mentioned Evening Gala. We had that going on. The book printers, we have Joe Upton from Malloy is on the board. Chris Roberts, who's the director of Washtenaw Literacy. It's an adult literacy organization that has over 500 volunteers that tutor English language learners or adult literacy folks. And I got pulled into that too because it's such a great program.
Yeah.
But
well, after the fair, I did some reading coaching, and that's an amazing experience for non-native speakers is to work with them. But that was, I think, one of the successes of bringing all these different types of groups together and having this coordinated appeal across a pretty wide spectrum.
Yeah, Josie Parker, with the director of the library, is on the board as well, and they had a huge role in helping us pull this off.
What I heard everybody saying as they walked away, we've got to do this next year. Let's make sure that it does it next year.
Absolutely, and like I said, we have a date, and we have lots of plans that have already begun.
And we also like tying it so closely with the Ann Arbor Reads, I don't know if you saw or read the recent government report on the decline of reading in this country. I think it's a result of the census information, but the written word is I think it's imperiled, and I think that we need to make it exciting for folks, and it's just not going to happen by itself, but we all have to pitch in together to make this, to have people keep reading. I've heard a number of people speak of books as information platforms, and the idea being that there are other information platforms, films and video and television, audio, and books are now in competition with these other methods of delivering information. And I think that I still feel that the technology of the book is the most efficient for the delivery of information. Also, of course, they've done, brainwave tests on people as they read, and as I understand it, the predominant brainwave pattern is a beta pattern, which is very engaged. And if you're watching TV, it's an alpha pattern, which is as close to being asleep as you can possibly be, and still have your eyes open. So I think that there's there's a lot at stake around this, and I think it's very important.
Well, I think the research has shown that people learn to speak and read in community.
Mm-hmm.
And by having this festival, that provides a tangible community to show what that is. And there was all that stuff going on. I mean, I saw some poetry reading in other languages. And so it gives you that broadening, but it is community. And that's what I think everybody so thoroughly enjoys that we've not had before, a specific time, at least here. And I think that's what's been the success of the other festivals around the country is people say, wow, there's all these authors of all these kinds and all these people interested in.
When a storm brought down the bark on the lake long ago.
We'd like to say thank you to you and your staff and everyone, the board, for what was done this year. I think it was a very historic moment.
Well, my thanks to you, Jim, for doing this. And how many years have you done this?
7 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And without a lot of support, you've kept this going. So, the work that you're doing is also a testament to the written word in this community. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And we began it much like you began the festival because this is important. This isn't just a peripheral activity. This is central. I mean, our focus, of course, is academic literature, which, as you know, I feel is the most exciting literature.
I'm in agreement with that.
And but I think that out of these passionate commitments to build community and literacy, then the community benefits. But thank you for being on Rip Rap.
It's my pleasure. It's a pleasure to be on Rip Rap. Thank you.